did.
Where are we going with that one? That's right. Call this meeting to order for the September 19th Weston County Commission meeting. Brooke, would you read this?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have an agenda. Is there any additions or changes to our agenda? Good motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Do we want to rush along so we try to get to Michael? You're in a hurry, right, Michael?
Yeah, I just got to be up there by 9:40.
Moving on to the consent agenda, let's pull the executive session minutes, which is, sorry, go ahead.
This is the finding of facts and conclusion of law that Michael typed up for the microphone. They are part of the executive session, so but don't initial them. Please just look at them.
We have tax and stuff too, right?
Do you have the public order as
Yes,
well?
I do have the public order right here, but it is not part of the executive session, but you guys need to look it over because I did not send it to you because I didn't have it in time.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve consent agenda as amended.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's 9:08. Okay, moving on to public comment. Is there any public comment? Okay, hearing no public comment, let's move on ahead to our 9:15 old business. Rental agreement. Michael, you have the floor.
Sure. I understood that there was some sort of, I'm not exactly sure because when the discussion happened last time, I was dealing with an individual in jail that I needed to get a warrant on, and Brooke was out that day with something. So I'm not exactly sure, what the issue is with a private office running out of the annex. I did research it at depth before I even proposed the idea to make sure it was legal, and I'm not using any sort of governmental funds or taxpayer money. Everything is separate. All the supplies are separate. Everything, the paper, the printer, the phone, the internet has all been set up separate. As part of the lease agreement, I know that at least one commissioner talked about, well, what if you want to throw a HR person in there or something? That I believe that is cured by the month-to-month lease agreement. So if something does happen like that, then there's no long-term obligation on your guys' part. As far as the benefits, that's one reason I asked Brooke to come, and she gracefully did. In the 2.5 weeks that it's happened, everybody, I've gotten a very good response from the community, both from both sides. The law enforcement likes it that I'm there to answer questions very promptly when they have a question, and I'm always readily available, probably even more than I want to be. So I don't know, Brooke, if you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just ask that you guys consider that, and that if you were to put anybody else in that office, you know, any other business, you'd have to consider the people that we bring in and the victims that we meet with, and, you know, what type of business would it be that would fit in that portion of the building. That's really important to consider for you guys, you know. We have to be super cautious of, you know, the environment we bring in and that with the people we meet with on that side of the building.
I don't think it was a question of whether it was okay for you to go in there. I think it was more of a question of similar, quite frankly, to me bidding on the Title 25. We gave nobody else an opportunity to do that. We just went to you on it. I mean, in fairness to other people, that building is a public building. And the advantage, I think, that we were talking about was more on the rent side. I mean, is that what an office space would cost anybody else? And the same positive comments that you've heard, we've got some negative comments from constituents who felt it was a total conflict of interest and wrong to do. I personally like that you're available over there more relevant, which is why we also say in the letter that we'd like you to be present or at least a deputy during a commissioner meeting, because I feel like we've gotten ourselves in trouble with that as well. So those are my feelings. And as far as keeping things separate, how exactly do you keep that separate? For example, copy paper or office supplies that you'd use for the county as opposed to, and I think those are valid questions.
Yeah.
I mean, I use 37 pieces of copy paper for the county, and I use 17 pieces of copy paper for that. I know it sounds dumb, but how does that not get crossed up?
Because I buy my paper separate, I have my separate printer. Nothing is connected to anything county from my computer or anything. So, pens, paper clips, everything. It's kept in a little separate space.
Okay.
Some of the concerns, obviously, we were talking about the legalities on the front side, and appreciate you going down and researching and making sure that would be a legal space for your personal practice. Also have gotten, I'm not just saying I have gotten contacted by a couple constituents that were concerned about the things exactly what we're talking here. I feel that out of fairness, obviously, if we were going to open that up, it very much looks like we're catering to your personal business, I guess, as a county, and I don't want that to be the case on a public note. I agree that with law enforcement and things that it's helping them with your location, and I don't want to discourage anything on behalf of you, but I also don't want to be catering to you specifically, saying, well, because he is our county attorney, the county commissioners have allowed him to have his personal business in there without giving any other personal business an opportunity, even if it isn't an appropriate place. That looks terrible on behalf of us. So also what I was concerned about was the price of it. I did, we were asking about square footage and things like that. I wanted to do some research and make sure that if your business is an appropriate one there, that also the fee, the rent and the lease is appropriate price-wise. So that doesn't even add to it. Say, okay, well,
not only did we give it to our county attorney, but now we gave it to him at $400, which is extremely low. Those were my concerns with the lease office.
Okay.
I did some research because I knew this was going to come up again. When Don Hanson was the county attorney and he had his private practice across the street, the county was paying him over $4,000 a month to pay for his supplies and the rent of his building. So if Michael chose to, he could take everyone from that building and go find another building, and we would have to pay him for his rent, all of his supplies, and all of that, because that's an option that he has as the county attorney. So it is saving us a lot to provide him a building and then have him be there. Because I went clear back, and the last payment that we paid to Don Hanson when he was our county attorney was over $4,000 for his office supplies.
It's not just saving; it's money that you guys are getting too. That I don't know how long was that space open for. It's been open for
1 month.
It's been longer than that.
Yeah.
A lot longer than probably a year. And that's money that you guys, the county wasn't making, that you guys are making off me now, out of my private business. Again, there's no long-term obligation in that lease agreement, but it is making the county money that it would otherwise not have. So,
Any further from the board on the rental agreement?
I guess my question is has it been posted that it's open or is it just stayed open? I mean, that's, again, I don't think it's anyone's questioning that it is convenient, but there are concerns from constituents that have called in and said, well, why didn't we get a chance to do this? Well, I don't know that answer. So have we posted it? Have we put it up there and said, hey, this is available space and this is what it is? I don't know, but you just need to understand why we brought these questions up.
I understand. I just don't. I don't understand. I really haven't heard of a rental place like that being posted for rent or anything like that. I mean, it's a small community, and I'm sure folks know if a spot's open like that.
I have no issues with him in there. I mean, I know there may be some issues, but just from my point, I think that it's a good fit. So, that's where I stand on it. Anything else from the board?
Real quick, recap on that, Becky, as far as the county's obligation for location. You were talking about the $4,000 with Hanson.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Explain that agreement, I guess.
He does not have to have the county attorney's office there. If he chooses to, he can take all of his people and he can move from that location. And then we are obligated to pay his rent, and we are obligated to pay his office supplies then wherever he chooses to go with his employees, his county employees. Then it's really going to cost us. So him being there is going to, because when Don Hanson was the attorney, we paid all of his rent, his supplies, plus his pay as a full-time county attorney, plus his deputy county attorney, plus his secretary at his law firm. It was ungodly amount that was paid to Hanson and Peck.
Well, I think we've all agreed that it's probably the best location for what we're doing. I mean, it's exposed that the law enforcement was happy that they were there. I don't want to drive anyone out of it. I guess what I'm saying is let's be honest and fair with the county with the fees or whatever at that point. We don't want to upset Michael for whatever personal reasons and drive him out, because obviously taxpayer monies would be liable for that. I'm just asking that those office spaces be leased at the appropriate
I think the reason that we don't advertise that is because it has to be someone sensitive in there. because of Focus being in there, the county attorney's office being in there, we can't just let anyone from the public be in there. I think that's been discussed at the commissioner meetings prior to you guys coming in. It can't be just someone that has a regular business in there, because they will see stuff, you know, that they're not supposed to see. So we can't advertise it being, you know, for rent to the general public.
Sure, go on.
Yeah, and that goes back to when even William Curley was the attorney down there. We had a lot of issues. If you put let's just say an engineering firm in there, the way that building's set up, you have Focus, now we have a victims advocate in there, we have the county attorney and prosecuting attorney's office there. We discuss a lot of stuff that is very sensitive, and that's not counting that Focus has to discuss the stuff. It is very difficult if you look at bringing an outside entity into that building and keep that confidentiality. I mean, at a time we put up freaking walls, and it looked like it was horrible looking in there for those reasons alone.
Are the partition walls still up?
No.
Because we did several years ago, we discussed that, and that's why those partition walls were originally put up.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just to keep Focus kind of away from the county attorney's side of things.
And the extension.
Yeah. Anything else from the board on that? Go ahead.
Well, I brought up the problem of a long-term lease. So if you were agreeable to a month to month, that kind of takes care of that issue, so that if we ever did have a problem with it or needed the space or you didn't want to be there anymore, then that would take care of that issue.
Yeah, I think that's fair to everybody. The month to month. Somebody comes in, wants to pay, I don't know, whatever, then you guys want more money, then we'll figure it out. So everything's fluid.
When we talked about it the last time, I know you kind of had agreed, or 400, but you said something about 600. You thought it was 600.
It was, I believe, yeah.
Is that something you'd be agreeable to?
I mean,
Because are all the utilities, everything are, as far as electric, heat, all of that are included?
yeah, I think I would be agreeable with that. Yeah.
Just a friendly deal, maybe sleep on it and come back to us at the next meeting. And then we could, if that's okay with you, if you wouldn't mind re-preparing those, that paperwork, then we could sign it again.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anything else on that? Bring up here?
In addition to the weekly printed version of the newsletter journal, we also promote our community and share important information on our award-winning website, newslj.com, and in our weekly email newsletter, Nuke Now. We also connect with readers through various social media platforms and invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can even take a look at a recent meeting of the City Council, School Board, or County Commission on our YouTube channel. We do hope that you will go to newslj.com and subscribe today, and we look forward to making all of our great content available to you. But regardless of your level of support, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing your part to preserve a free and independent local press.
Move to vault side update. Mike, is that you? I assume.
Yeah. What's his name? Jeff Campbell. Sent an email without his attorney, and I said I can't talk to you without your attorney, so I think Becky sent a message back saying we can't talk to you without your attorney.
And I never heard anything else.
But what he's indicating is that they'd agree to the 20% split on a 6-month term lease. So it's the same percentage you guys agreed to, just cutting the lease agreement from a year to 6-month term. And we have to get that confirmation from the attorney.
Yeah, because it was directly from Jeff, not the attorney, and he reached out to me, not Michael. Originally, I couldn't talk to him, but his attorney needed to talk to Michael, and we haven't heard anything since. And we haven't had a payment since, what did I tell you, March?
What's your feeling on it?
On the potential agreement?
Yeah.
I think we pretty much squeezed out what we can, honestly. I mean, we have some sort of long-term, well, it's not long-term. 6 months isn't long-term, but it's better than month to month. We got a percentage that's kind of livable with, so.
And what about recovery of the payments that we have not received yet?
Yeah, I mean, have to try to enforce them under that contract.
And that would be at the higher payment.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, the contract, but.
I would like, with the vault side, I would like to think that we have some type of leverage, but every time we've talked about it, we have zero leverage on any negotiation for this. I mean, it's pretty much just us asking, hey, this is an offer that we're going to do. But if vault side says, we're not going to accept any of your offers, this is what you're going to do on our terms, and there's no ways around it. There's nothing that we can do. Otherwise, we just do without the service. So I guess any bit of, we know that we need the service. We know we need vault side. I guess us just asking even the 6 months at 20%, I think we had initially offered them 15, wasn't it? Like a longer term or whatever, and they didn't think that was jive. But for them to cater to us in any way, I guess is out of just their sheer greatness, because they don't have to. Right? I mean, unless I'm looking at it wrong. What do we have?
The contract doesn't have teeth.
I mean, yeah, we don't have any leverage points for negotiation.
Other than if they are going under, but that doesn't give us much leverage either.
No.
The problem is, like, if we have to start over, there's another $100,000 to put everything back in the system.
Their leverage is they know that we need the service, and ultimately we're probably going to do quite a bit just to retain that service. That's their leverage.
I think we should be looking around at other options, because I don't even see this holding up for very long. And if we're going to go without the service, which we can't do, then we better figure out a backup plan besides hopes and dreams.
Well, we could. It's a convenience.
Right.
People can still come and look at the books,
Right.
but
Yeah, but folks all over the state, all over the country probably look at that. I think we talked about IDOC at some point, didn't we?
yeah. I mean, I could start looking. It's going to cost us, but
Well, I mean, I think even if our intent, our long-term intent is to stay with vault side, I think it would behoove us. What was that? IDOC?
that's one option, I think. I think that might be what Kirk County's done, but yeah, I can definitely.
At least if we consider and just gather some information, and companies such as that are brought into the conversation, at that point, there is some competition. I don't like to be monopolized into, hey, you're going to be with us
Right,
no
you
matter
do
what.
what we say.
We're the only ones that offer this, and this is what you got to do. So I think at least gathering some information from a competitor would behoove us.
Okay, I'll do that.
Agreed. So that said,
Oh, Michael.
we need to have a motion to accept that, their latest offer.
He hasn't talked with their attorney.
I don't think it's an official offer without the attorney
It's just
involved.
no verbal estimate. Okay.
I mean, obviously, if that's what the client wants to do, it's probably going to happen at this point, but we just need a confirmation from counsel or confirmation that he no longer has counsel or something.
Do you have any conversations with his attorney?
Yeah.
That's what he was saying. He has to wait until the attorney contacts him.
Okay.
Or
Can
confirmation.
you call Jeff and ask him to?
Or talk to him again
Or
to please
email
have
him.
his attorney.
So in the event that that is an offer, that they actually, that it's a real offer, I mean, how does it sound to you guys? So we can just,
For the time being, yeah, I think it's appropriate.
so we can accept.
Do we need to make a motion as such?
Yes. Upon your receiving that phone call, I guess we could.
Yeah, just so we don't have to do, discuss it.
The-
If you guys agree to it.
The offer you're talking about is 20% at a 6-month agreement.
I move that if Michael hears from their attorney in an official capacity, that we agree to accept the offer of 20% split with a 6-month term.
Second?
It's been properly moved and seconded to accept the 6-month service at 20% and upon the attorney's approval. Any
Who
discussion?
seconded it?
Garrett did. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Let's do it. Do you guys do it anyway? Okay. We'll have it at the end of the meeting. Budget adjustment discussion. Becky.
Okay, so you guys all got my email that the insurance guy was able to get that down. So instead of the 70,000 that we need added to the insurance line item, I'm only gonna need about 13,298. So then we already added the 100,000 into the financial admin. So I just need to move the 13,298 out of financial admin into the insurance line item. Brandon will be coming in to discuss his generator for public health. So if we want to wait to do the motion with moving the money around until after he comes in here, we can do that after he comes in to let you know if you got a second bid or not, so we know how much to put in there. Or if you just want to pay it out of financial admin, then you can go ahead and do the budget adjustment now.
With your, I got your email and you said you titled it "Good News," so I'm assuming that this is a great move.
Yes, because remember I thought it was going to cost us over $200,000 because he was having a hard time finding the lower insurance.
Right.
He was able to get it down for our building insurance, and he was he got it to where it was only going to cost us 160-some thousand versus the 200-some thousand.
And this is through Ben.
Well, it's his like sister company. Yeah,
Okay.
but yes, it was. And so after I sent you guys that, Ed signed the agreement with them, and so we just need to do the budget adjustment to add that additional money so that when we do vouchers, we can get them paid.
And this is still going to come out of admin regardless.
No. Well, we'll move it out of financial admin to put it into my insurance line item.
I move we take $13,298 out of financial admin and place that into our insurance line item.
Motion on the floor is second. It's been properly moved and seconded to move $13,298 out of financial admin to pay for our county insurance. Is there any other discussion on that? Hearing none, I would entertain a vote for this. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none. Approved. Okay. We're late with Drew, and she's having trouble hearing.
I'm good now.
Okay.
I don't know what happened, commissioners.
Thank you, Drew. Jeannie's here. You can't see her probably, but she's in the crowd and a couple other folks that are probably interested in this discussion. You have the floor for the update on the BLM RMP revision.
Okay, we've got about 4 things to update you on. We'll start with BLM. Newcastle, Weston County did submit comments on the scoping notice, so thank you for assisting in getting those done. Now what's going to happen is we're going to go back and we're going to work with the BLM to draft the alternatives for the EIS. And we have, Commissioner Todd, we did schedule a county-only meeting to go through socioeconomics and special designations on October 18th from 1 to 4 in Lusk, but there will be a virtual option. So you can participate virtually as well. And these are cooperator meetings, so some of the stuff that we're going to be seeing is not information that we can share with the public. And this meeting will be in preparation for our meeting with the BLM and the cooperating agencies on October 25th in Newcastle. So we'll have a lot to talk about. I know there were some things in the scoping notice that we'll want to make sure that we go through, and just making sure that the BLM is using the right socioeconomic information that actually portrays your county, because sometimes they have outdated information that's not helpful. So with that, I'll ask if there's any questions and if Jeannie has anything to add.
I guess, Drew, the only thing I wanted to add is, you wanted me, Drew lives in Lander, so I'm a local person.
No, you're good.
No, you're good. And you guys have really stepped up to get people to come to that BLM meeting. It was wonderful. Your newspaper and your citizens, and we had a great turnout. And I think that's going to make a big difference. I hope everybody sent their letters of comment, but at least BLM knows what's going on and that they are being watched in this county. So that's really great. That's all I had about BLM.
And that means frozen and fuzzy.
Drew, Jeannie just gave it. Can you hear me? Drew, can you hear me?
Doesn't look like it. Yeah, you either see her, I can't hear, or vice versa.
Nothing.
It's only good when it works good.
Yeah.
Can you log back in if you hear me?
Drew's muted now.
And then we can't hear her.
She's muted.
Just
Yeah, Drew's muted.
But she can't hear you guys. Tell her that she's muted.
Right.
Here.
So did you get all that?
She's on right now.
Oh, she's calling.
Hold on.
Hello.
Hey, Drew.
Oh, never mind.
Hey.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's just not working. I'm going to log out.
Okay, can everybody kind of hear my phone? Okay. So Jeannie gave an update just that she was rather impressed with the amount of people that showed up from the community for the BLM workshop, and she thinks things are progressing properly, and was enthused to see the kind of turnout that we had. So I think everything's working out good in those regards. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, yes, I agree with her.
Does anybody have any questions for Drew, I guess, regarding the upcoming workshops? The Newcastle meeting is the 25th, and then the meeting in Niobrara County is it 1 to 3, Drew, on the 18th?
It is, and there will be a virtual option, I believe, at both meetings. So if you can't make it down to West on the 18th, you can participate virtually.
I got the email this morning, so I'll forward that on to the other commissioners so that they can see that if anybody wants to attend. Go ahead.
Where's it located?
That one's in Lusk at it's in Lusk at the Conservation District office, and then the 25th here is located
at BLM.
Okay.
And so there's nothing more on that. I do have a couple updates on the Black Hills, Sagegrass, and Thunder Basin. It'll just take a minute.
Okay, what's the time on the 25th? Do you recall, Drew?
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
In the morning.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead on the rest, please.
Okay. For the Black Hills, I think we're finally getting turned around a little bit, Commissioners. We have had some struggles with the Black Hills this past year with staffing. 2 reasons. One, they have not been able to keep a permanent supervisor in the Black Hills, and so we've had multiple acting supervisors. And 2, we have a lot of attrition in that office. We're down 50 to 70 people, and it's very difficult to hire people. So our concern was starting a major plan revision in the middle of having no staffing. So the Forest Service, the regional office, has come back to us. They're doing a couple new things. One, the regional office is starting what they're calling the Mountain Services Planning Group. It's going to be an internal group of individuals, a team, just identified to do NEPA plan revisions. So there's going to be several of them going on in the mountain region and the west. This team is going to be very focused on getting NEPA done. I think that's going to be very helpful for the Black Hills because they don't have enough resources to do it. So we are expecting that there is an acting supervisor right now, Ida Green. I believe they have identified somebody that they're hiring on permanently for that position. It has not been announced. They're hoping to announce it by the end of the year. They've identified Luke Conroy as the point of contact for the NEPA document in Black Hills, which is good. They've got the regional group almost staffed. They've got some additional positions. So I think we're starting to work through this. The one thing we're going to have to make sure of is that when we're doing the NEPA document, that we make sure that we're getting all of that local technical expertise and that local knowledge fed into the document. So that's all good news. The next piece of good news is they are going to allow both states to have cooperating agencies work with them on the interdisciplinary team. This is really important because that means our representatives can work directly with the Forest Service in the regional office drafting the document. The 2 points of contact we believe at this time in Wyoming will be myself for the counties, Crook and Weston, and then Kate Barlow for the governor's office. We don't know how many they're going to allow South Dakota to have, but those are what we've represented, or those are what we've discussed so far, at least for our state. So that's all very good news. Are there any questions on staffing? Well, let me throw this out too. So the other thing is the final assessments are in Washington. They're trying to schedule a final briefing with the higher up leadership one, to determine when we're going to get the final assessments. Two, to determine when the notice of intent is going to come out to start the NEPA document. We believe it's going to be this winter. Three, it will have all of those pinch points and those communication plans and talking points and how they're going to roll things out. So I think we finally turned this around and we're on track to be much more organized and effective moving forward. Are there any questions on the assessments or the NEPA process or staffing?
I've got a question on the staffing side of it. Just quick explanation on the problems for the staffing on being able to either retain or acquire.
Commissioner, I think it's just a continuation of the chronic problem we're seeing post-pandemic. We just can't find enough people that want to work, and it's funny because you get fairly good benefits with the federal government, but we just can't find enough people to want to apply for those positions. So it's putting a burden on the agency, and it's not just in the Black Hills,
Right.
It's nationwide.
Understand. Thank you, Drew.
Thank you, Drew. Any other questions for Drew regarding that? Anything else you got, Drew?
Yeah, real quickly on LiDAR. So flights are complete on the LiDAR. They're trying to get around in both Wyoming and South Dakota to ground truth the plots. And Wyoming has done a really great job on our side. They were lacking some equipment and some people in South Dakota, but I think things have picked up. They're going to try to get through it as fast as possible, but I assume that we'll still be finalizing the ground truthing later this summer. And then we are working with the regional group to try to determine who is going to take all the information from LiDAR and assess it and put it in a report. So we're on top of it. The LiDAR's been done, and that's a really good first step because that's information we're going to need for the NEPA document. Any other questions on Black Hills?
Good. Just a sec, Drew. We have a question from the public. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Never mind.
Okay. And Commissioner Todd, just a reminder that our regularly scheduled meetings, monthly meetings, are the second Wednesday of the month from 1 to 3, and there's a virtual option. So that's for the cooperating agencies.
Okay.
So moving to sage-grouse real quick, I think all of you or most of you should have received a rather lengthy, in-depth email from Micah Christensen with WCCA yesterday. That is confidential information, so I can't talk about it with the public, but what I will say is this. After 3 months, Micah and I have finally been asked to participate with the state to draft the state's alternative that will be submitted. So we are going to begin feverishly working on that. There is a CIGIT meeting on Friday where we will be talking about the mapping effort and the EO, the Wyoming Executive Order, and whatever changes the CIGIT group is going to recommend to the governor. But there are a lot of things going on with sage-grouse. I will just say we are finally in the position that we've asked to be in for the last 4 months. So that's good news. I'm sure I'll be coming back to you individually with more questions on sage-grouse in Weston County as we move forward, but I wanted to let you know there has been progress. And I'm sure it'll be talked about next week at 2 weeks at Waco.
Thanks, Drew. Do you have a feeling the governor's office is kind of in line with everybody, the cooperators on that?
I do. I think we all generally agree that a state alternative should align with the Wyoming executive order. There are some updates to the executive order that needs to be done, particularly regarding new information, new habitat information, new predator information, etc. but I think we're all aligned in the sense that any Wyoming state alternative should align with the executive order. So I don't think that's an issue, but I think that we have to put more detailed prescriptive information on paper to convince BLM that maybe those prescriptive measures warrant their attention. I'm not going to lie, this round of sage-grouse plan amendments with the BLM is going to look like nothing we've ever done before. It's being pushed from headquarters. We are a check-the-box exercise at this point for them. And we finally, through several letters, through WCCA in particular, Mike and I, and then on the heels of our letter, the Western Governors Association sent a rather poignant letter just saying, hey, you're doing all this without us. You're not even including us. So DC has finally said, okay, we'll step back. We'll include you. We're looking at probably a draft coming out this winter. And, of course, they're trying to push all of these efforts, these post rules, anything that this administration is trying to get through, they're trying to do right now before the presidential election next year. So there are a lot of moving pieces and parts, but I guess for WCCA, the good news is we are now at the table with the Wyoming BLM and the state agencies. So that's good news.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Anything further, Drew, or?
No, I would just say, Commissioners, if you're interested, look at Micah's email from yesterday. There are several meeting dates that we identified that may be of interest to you. So just make sure you take a look at that. And then the last thing I have is Thunder Basin. There is a Thunder Basin National Grasslands working group, a bigger working group that's scheduled for tomorrow, the 20th. And from 1 to 4. And so they will be talking about mapping. They will be talking about plague. They did identify that plague has struck in some parts. It appears as though we are hovering around the 10,000 acre mark for prairie dogs. However, they're not in an aggressive expansion, and the densities are not really thick. So I don't know what that means. We're going to learn about that tomorrow. I will not be able to participate, but I will go back and watch the recording. But certainly, Commissioners, you're welcome. It is a hybrid meeting, so I believe there's the opportunity to participate virtually as well. And it will be in Douglas.
Okay, thank you, Drew.
With that, Commissioners, that's all I have. Is there anything else for me or any other questions?
Yeah, you're okay. Mr. Darlington has a question.
Yeah, Drew, Jim Darlington with Indian Fair Grazing Association. I'm not going to be able to make the working group meeting tomorrow either, but we're still waiting from the mapping results from the towns we requested be treated this year, but the problem we have with all the wonderful rain and green grass we have is kind of pointless right now trying to poison the prairie dogs. So mixed blessings going on, but the logistics are still a matter in the works, but anyway, I just wanted to.
I think that's a great point, and the other thing I think is going to be a topic of conversation tomorrow is if we're at 10,000 acres, do we need to be spending the money for plague management? So I think that's going to be a conversation that will be had tomorrow.
Okay.
Sound like we're on the same page.
We usually are. Thank you.
Thank you, Drew. Appreciate everything. Thank you, Jean, for coming.
I can add
Go ahead, Jean.
I just want to add something that he just showed me about the Rock Springs. What was that?
The BLM preferred alternative on the Rock Springs plan.
Right. And that was, according to Drew, that plan, it took them over 10 years to do that, and it's a mess. If you get that Wyoming livestock roundup. The reason I bring this up is it was proposed in Crook County that there would be one of these special management places, the ACEC. And when we listened to our local BLM guy, he said these ACECs, which is special, they have special features on this area. And we said, okay, maybe 9 acres. BLM is proposing 9,000 acres. And so I want you to really be careful.
We can't hear her and you at the same time. I'm sorry.
So I guess I would say if you're doing your Whoop-Up Canyon, if that is being included as your ACEC, I'm sorry I haven't read what Drew's letter was, but you might want to look to see how many acres they think they want to preserve in that. It's really worrying. I mean, our local BLM guy said it's a special management, special area. And then we have the president who just declared over 30,000 acres in eastern Colorado as an ACEC to keep oil and gas out of there. So just kind of be aware. I don't believe the locals are lying. I think but what's happening on this level, what's happening in Washington is a whole different deal. So just be aware of that. So, yep.
Yeah, and commissioners, the extension, they did add more expansion on Whoop-Up Canyon ACEC, I think a total of 240 acres. So that is probably a discussion we need to have at this next meeting, Commissioner Todd, with special designations and just making sure that we understand Weston County's preference.
Thank you. Okay. Anything further, Drew?
No, that's it. Thank you, commissioners.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate you. Sorry about the inconvenience.
Not a problem. We made it work.
You bet.
Travel safe. Thank you, commissioners. I'll see you next week.
Yep, take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
I really enjoyed the conversation that we were treated to at the council meeting.
I think it makes the public feel better about things as well, to know they're heard. Every time I hear a person get cut off, they think their rights are taken, my rights are being taken away. I have a constitutional right to speak here. You're my elected official. I'm your employer. And all of those things are very true, in my opinion. And I think that there needs to be a more free flow in these meetings, because the government always talks about these elected officials how they wish they could hear from the public more, but I don't think that grabbing one of them on the street does as much as approaching the council and airing your grievance or discussing an issue or bringing up a suggestion does to the whole group. And I think that when chairs shut that down and don't let people speak, that it does more harm than good, definitely.
Give it a minute or two here, Brandon. You're okay.
Thanks.
Clarification. Here it says her name was Drew Bauer. On the screen it said Drew Palmer.
That's her maiden name.
Okay, it's Drew Bauer.
Yeah.
And she is with BLM.
No, she is our advocate for dealing with the BLM, the Forest Service,
okay,
in regards to everything in line with anything coming down from regulatory agencies with any of these wonderful lands that we have for community use.
Yeah.
Trying to protect the communities so that they're as usable as possible, I guess. Well,
private property and recreation and
more associated with the government grounds and what kind of use can be done on them, and
gotcha.
Protecting the current use we have and trying to curtail any further regulations from
Washington or Cheyenne or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's an important job.
Yeah. She's pretty handy.
She's invaluable to us. She really is. She's so knowledgeable.
Go ahead, Brandon.
All right, so I did get another bid from Rick's Electric for a 400 amp transfer and new generator from him. He's at $13,500. plus we'd have to hire a plumber to plumb in the gas. Whereas
13,500.
Yeah, Gen Pro is at 10,500, and they do the plumbing and all that themselves.
Gen Pro was at 10,500.
10,50107.
And that is for the courthouse?
That's for public health. Yes. Gen Pros includes plumbing. Rick's Electric does not. We'd have to hire a plumber outside to plumb in the gas line.
Go ahead.
Is that brand of the same brand of generators or comparable?
No, Gen Pro would use the existing transfer switch, and they'd be putting in a Briggs and Stratton product, 20 kilowatt battery, gas, electric wiring, all included in their bid. Rick's Electric, that's also with the cold weather intake. Rick's Electric had installed a Cummins generator cold weather kit by Cummins. It's also a 5-week wait time on getting that material in. But he labor estimated with that at 13,500. Plus he doesn't have a plumber, so we'd have to hire Black Hills Plumbing or somebody in also to plumb it.
Can I see those, please? Passing down the line here.
He also quoted out a 200 amp transfer switch, but I think we'd probably want to stay with the 400 amp. That's what it was designed with and has in, since there's two different businesses. You have the WIC and the public health in there, so they have multiple furnaces, multiple AC units.
So Gen Pro's out of South Dakota, but we're within the limit, right? Yeah. What is it? 10% or only 5% if they're out of state? And do you have to do that on 3%? Okay. How soon do you think Gen Pro can get on it?
They can be on sooner than 5 weeks out.
Anybody have anything after you check those out for Brandon?
When they come out to.
Rick still hasn't been out. I got hold when we get into the And then I just have to coordinate that with the courts upstairs so I can get one of his electricians up through and out. Either that or they'd have to bring in a bucket truck to get up there, which I think would cost more than me just working it out with the courts to get them up through the top.
Right. Yeah.
Quick question. I don't know anything about standalone generators or quality or whatever. I just want to make sure that we're pretty much comparing apples to apples. I know that the output of both generators are in the 20 kilowatt range. Understand that there's going to be an addition to that was a 13.5 bid from Rick's, and that would be an additional plumbing required, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
To keep the 400 amp service, he was at 13.5.
What do you know anything about generators?
Very little, but I know a little. I mean, the 400 amp is what's in there right now. We have
Okay.
a 400 amp transfer switch, and I'm going with that because we have multiple furnaces, multiple air conditioning units, plus the two businesses in that big of a building.
Okay. I don't know the difference between a Briggs or a Cummins, I guess, as far as quality or.
Is there anything on there for warranty wise or?
Through Gen Pro, I think there was a 5-year, and Rick's did not have it listed.
There wasn't. I didn't see.
I didn't see anything on it.
I don't know if it helps you at all, but if it was originally engineered with a 400 amp circuit, that's probably what it needs to keep at minimum.
I agree. Board's wishes.
Make a motion to accept the Gen Pro Energy Solutions bid to get the process started.
been properly moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Go for it.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded by, you choose, to accept GenPro's price at $10,501.07 too.
Mr. Chair. Do I need to add that, take it out of financial admin or just leave it at that?
Yeah, you might as well.
A friendly amendment to that is take the funds from the financial admin.
Okay, second.
Second.
Any further discussion on it? It's been properly moved and seconded, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I will call him and get him on it.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're running a little behind time. Hi, Christy.
Hello.
You're up. Management on opioid funds.
That'd be me. I just wanted to touch base with you guys because we've been having across the state, we call them opioid settlement collaboratives, and so we just all of us get together and once a month we kind of talk about what everyone else is doing in the counties, and I didn't realize until like the last one we had that they had changed like how the funding was being like broke down and what we would be getting, because originally I thought it was like $2,000 like a year, and I was like, not a lot we can do. But then when I had emailed Becky and was like, okay, what info have you guys got? Because they don't always do a very good job of communicating with everybody. And so I just wanted to kind of see where you guys were at. As far as what your thoughts were on those funds and ideas, and if there's something that I can do to help facilitate that, because I know that I have coworkers in other counties that are helping with that. So I just kind of wanted to touch base and kind of get your thoughts and see where you guys were at with that.
I do know that I think the sheriff's department is using some of those funds, correct?
Correct. We're looking at using around $45,000. We've got to replace the dog and the equipment on that portion of it.
How much is that available?
Well, right now there's 61,000, and Brian, I wish he was still in here, is looking into what is not spent on the dog, on upgrading some of their other equipment with what is left from the dog, because it's to be spent on law enforcement stuff. So
Well, it doesn't all have to be spent on law.
No, I know,
but there's a lot of things
we're
that can be
looking
spent on.
at spending it within the county on the stuff that can be upgraded within our county, the county
So
department.
is that something like that the city and the county all, like, because that was one of the things, the requirements of the MOU, is for the cities to meet with the county.
I don't know the answer to that. Do you?
I don't know the answer to that one fully, but the dog portion of it is to replace our current dog that's going to be retiring this year. He is used throughout the whole county, through the city, through everything. So it is accessible, and then the other equipment we're looking at joining in with. There was talks with the city and the police department on joint task type projects on that.
That was just one of the things that we were talking about, is that one of the stipulations is that we're supposed to regularly communicate with, since we only got it as a county, like the bigger counties got, like Casper got money, right, as a city, and then Detroit County got money. So it's just supposed to be all like, a group communication so that the money is, like, it's a joint effort. So I was just curious as to what that looked like.
I guess my assumption is you're here partially because you may have some wants
I don't.
Oh, you
I mean,
don't.
we just got funded. I wrote a big grant, and we got funded through the Drug-Free Communities grant.
Okay.
So we're getting extra $125,000 a year for 5 years,
Great. Yeah.
and then we can reapply. And District 7 is going to be the fiscal agent for that.
Okay.
I just was trying to follow in the footsteps of what the Department of Health has encouraged us to do, and then with what they sent me in the memorandum of understanding to try to help with, because that's what is happening in other counties.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Has this conversation, has it entered into along with the city police department? Both cities? I mean, you're saying that it's a joint deal. So
yeah, so the money came to you guys,
Okay.
and so the memorandum of understanding had to be signed by the county. And then one of the stipulations under the use of the opioid funds was that each county shall regularly consult with and receive input from its constituent cities and towns regarding effective distribution and use of the localized state funds. And my colleagues in a lot of other counties, I have learned, are helping facilitate those conversations. Like the Gallen Park County, because they have Powell and Cody and this, both cities and then the county is helping kind of facilitate those conversations, especially since we do a lot of the best practice work and are familiar with a lot of those things. So I just kind of wanted to fill in, and honestly, did not realize we were getting that much money, and so then I was like, well, $2,000 isn't really worth, honestly, us trying to, do all that collaboration. And then when I found out at our last call, they're like, oh, no. I was like, oh, well, I should probably touch base with you guys then. So.
When did we get this money?
That's when I started working on the funding a year and a half, 2 years ago.
So it's been a long time ago. And I guess my other question is, I'm new here. So if the county sheriff's department is going to use this money, this is grant money separated out from their budget, right?
We have a separate line item for it.
So if they're going to get a new dog, they should come to us and get approval for that. So we make sure that this money is spent appropriately, and the communication between the city and county, that that's part of the MOU, that we do it properly. Am I looking at this wrong?
Well, if they applied for it before we did that, then we said we would affect those things. But I don't know when this started, but I mean, my feeling on it is it's separate from the budget, but I can't be wrong.
Yeah, Brian's been working on it.
So it's separate from their budget. So shouldn't we,
Just a
I guess,
separate line item.
I believe that when they came to apply for it, they got our approval, and which kind of is in lieu with them using it for their needs. But I mean, we could maybe micromanage a little bit of it, but I think it's a good spot to. There was a lot of stuff that we couldn't fill in the blanks for during the budget year, and this is maybe a great opportunity for vests that they have to update and stuff like that.
I guess my concern is your concern, we make sure that it's done the way we're supposed to spend it, and everything's done fairly and openly.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. I think that the using it for a county law enforcement, which is countywide, is a good place for it to be. But and there can be some documentation, I'm sure, that would be better to once everything's.
I don't think that it's a matter of, from my perspective, I mean, in all the grants and MOUs that I deal with, I don't think that it's a matter of how it's being spent, but just that when we go into a memorandum of agreement, making sure that we're, if we're supposed to be communicating with the other cities when that's happening, so that there's that openness. I've just had some backlash with WBH on some of the things that they send our way, that if we don't check those little boxes, then when they come, if someone comes forward and is like, well, you didn't do it that way, then they will not reimburse us. So that was kind of that was just something we've been talking about, because there's been other counties that have had those same conversations. Because when they send, MOUs of like, well, here's money because it's a settlement fund, then that should be a continual thing too. There should be other funding coming, so it's not like it's just a one-time deal.
And we can ask Brian, I guess he's not available right now, but that'd be a good thing for him to do, would be, I guess, an update on that when he knows what he's going to use it for and what he's using it for. So the county, and I think you're right, it's better to have it out on the table.
Yeah, and it's not so much, there's a lot of things that the money can be spent for. But some of those are things like treatment. And so depending on what your Title 25 situations are, there's a possibility for that as well. It just depends on how you fit it into those boxes. So it's not so much how it's being spent, but that the MOU itself is actually being followed. So that was just my question, just because I didn't want to be out of the loop.
A perfect topic. It looks to me like a perfect topic for our Joint Powers Board. Like, has that been discussed? Has the available monies and the expenditures of such been discussed through the Joint Powers?
I have. I only knew how much money we were getting just because I asked Becky. So and when I found out that others were doing it.
Maybe Officer Fields, do you know if it was brought up in Joint Powers discussion?
And for the Joint Powers Board, no, because that was a dispatch, strictly communications board.
Okay.
So no, I wasn't ever brought up.
Okay. I thought maybe it would overlap, just being that maybe some of the appropriate monies could be used on a city basis as well. That was the only reason.
No, and I don't as a funding, but I guess my thought going forward would be as things like this come forward, since the county gets community prevention grant dollars as well, that would be a really good way for us to open some communication and try to figure out how we can all be helping each other. Because some of those community prevention grant dollars can be used for other things as well. So it's not like it's just a matter of us having to try to, change that with the way we write that application. So, conversations within their coalition.
And just so you guys know, the attorney and the sheriff and all of us, we look into this, and we've been watching and Dan, and we know, we've been watching what this needs to be spent on, and Dan has communicated with probably Derek and the other departments as well. Right. So, they're doing what they need to, and it's not just Vincent here.
No, I'm not trying to say that no one's not doing anything. I just think this would be a really great time to kind of, if we have this much community or prevention dollars, because that's what this is for, is opioid prevention, right? Or to address intervention and prevention, then some open communication with our community prevention grant dollars would probably be a good idea as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. Christy?
And hopefully, once we get things from the feds, I will give you guys an update on that drug-free communities grant. But that's a 20-point grant, so that's $500,000 that we'll be getting over for 5 years, and we'll reapply and get it for the next 5 hopefully. So,
very good.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Any further business need to come from board? Jared, I apologize for not seeing you.
No, that's all right.